Okay, so I've had the Supernote Manta for about a year now, and I have mixed feelings about it. I'm making this video because I thought it might be helpful for people who are trying to figure out whether they want to buy a Manta, and they want to hear an opinion, a long-term opinion of someone who's had it for a while. And I use this exclusively for writing. I use it for nothing else, so that's the context of where I'm coming from with this device. I should also mention I have the Supernote A5X. I had this when it came out, and so I had this first, and then this came in second. This will probably be the last video on this channel, since I do this channel just kind of for fun on the side, unless Ratta comes out with another device, preferably a handheld would be pretty nice. But other than that, this is probably going to be it for me, but I just want to share my opinion on the Manta. All right, so I'm going to refer to my notes here on the Manta. Hopefully it's not too like scatterbrained and I can somehow guide my discussion to make it more focused, but I have a few points that I do want to share. The first is that I noticed a sharp decline in use over time, but the device is still perfect. And I think this is pretty typical of whenever anyone buys something, especially techie, unless it's like something you're going to use daily, like a phone or something very essential. You're probably going to notice a sharp decline in your overall use, and I totally think that's okay. I've just been busy. I got 2 young kids, and so the time to write has been less. I still use it to write, but the time to write daily has been less. However, I do want to mention that I experienced a very similar thing with the A5X, and when I initially bought this, I was using it a lot because I was so excited about it, and then over time I kind of stopped using it, and it sort of sat on my shelf. But with the A6X, I experienced sort of this resurgence, almost like a rebirth of interest in the device, and then I started writing again, and I got really excited. Now, in this sense, I would say there might be a fear of people, or there might be a fear in people as they're contemplating the device, because it is pretty expensive. What if they don't use it, right? Like, what if they buy it and then they decide that they're not going to use it? It seems like a waste of money, and I completely understand that fear. It's really hard to make a prediction on how you're going to use a device, but all I can say is that I think if you're contemplating the jump from paper pen to an e-ink device, there will probably always be a place for you to pick it up again, like the e-ink device again. So I wouldn't worry so much about, oh, am I going to use it? What if I don't use it? And it's hard to sell and all this other stuff. I think if you're really thinking about it, you're probably ready to sort of make that jump. And it's funny because even if I take a long break, or I don't write every single day, maybe a couple times a week, every time I pick it up, it just feels like the perfect device. And that's one of those things that's very hard to convey over YouTube videos about the user experience. And that's what I'm trying to do with these sort of talk videos. It's not so spec heavy. I'm not showing B-roll and stuff. I'm just trying to explain the best that I can how it is to use this, and how I would talk to a friend if they were trying to figure out whether to buy it. Whenever I write stuff, though, this is the device for me. And we have our 3rd son coming up, and in the hospital I will be bringing the Manta with me. For the birth of my other son, I brought the A6X. And it was just nice to write things down because we have a lot of time in the hospital. And so instead of just going on my phone and doing whatever, it's nice to actually be able to write. The second thing I want to mention is the continued support that Ratta, Supernote provides is really great. But I will say, just from my own user experience, it's mostly ignored. And that's not to say that the quality of the work that they're doing is not good. It's just for my use, as a writer, someone who just wants to write things down, a lot of the updates are more quality of life things for other people who are using it for, I think, maybe more dynamic ways. I mean, the stickers are cute. The stickers are cute, but I'm not really like utilizing that. I just want it to work for writing, and I think that the tool does what I want, and that's what I was saying to return back. I think it's pretty much near perfect. The only thing that I did have concerns, and this was concerns a while ago, was the syncing of of the cloud when you have multiple devices. And I know that they're going to address this in the future. This is also a problem that most people may not have because they don't have two devices. So that's just something for me, that when that update gets rolled out, or however it's going to get fixed, maybe it's going to be something just beginning of, and you know, it's not going to work sort of retroactively. That's fine. But that was the only issue that I would look forward. That's like the only patch or update I would look forward to. Something that would fix the syncing issue between the two devices. But other than that, everything else is fine. And I think it's really great that they focus more on the software updates rather than the hardware updates. This isn't like phones where it comes out every year with a new device. I do like the fact that they just make a good device and you can just use it for multiple years. And that's something that I think as consumers we have to get used to, because we're so used to like refreshing our hardware. You know, you go and you get new phones, you get new computers, you get new whatever it is, right? Like you just want to get something because they market that it's a year, you need the newest one. But actually they've taken the approach where now they're just going to make a really good product and it's going to last you for a while, probably forever. And so in that sense, you know, if you're a person who appreciates the updates of software and can be okay with just having the same device, then I think this is something for you. Now, as for size, I mentioned this on a previous video that I actually prefer the A6X or the A6 size for more like mobile note taking. So when mobility is a priority, I still think this is the way to go. However, I will say that there is a place for the bigger A5 size, and that's for your long sit downs when you have a lot of time to actually write. And I've actually had more opportunities to do that. And so I made that transition from the A6 size to the A5 size, and I think that it's worked out. I think for people who are wondering whether they should get both or like do they need both, I would say that if mobility is important to you, stick with this. But if you're not sure, I would say there is a place to possibly get both. But again, you run that issue of syncing and whether you should sync the devices, which I would say as of right now, possibly hold off on that. So definitely upload it to the cloud. But if there's a way to keep the account separate, then that's probably what I would do at this moment, just because you won't run into any like conflict file problems, which if you're not familiar with that, it's some kind of syncing issue where you get these sort of hanging files that they're not quite sure which is the most recent, I think, and then it looks funny on your device. So I would, if you're gonna get two, I think there's a place for two, but you may want to consider keeping them completely separate. Okay, and then this last point, I just want to express, it's a growing appreciation for the digital cloud when it comes to saving my writing. And since using these devices, particularly the A5, the Manta, I'm done buying physical notebooks. Like I don't need it. And I love that it's going to be saved to the cloud, but also I can access it other places. And as someone who writes, and I like to write by hand still, I like to type, but I love to write by hand. You know, it's a real big change for me. It just adds a level of assurance that my writing will not be lost. I will liken it to my experience of switching over from physical books to ebooks. And I was sort of hesitant and resistant to that for a long time because I like the physical books, English major, right? I want to feel the paper, turn the pages, and I still have a collection of actual books, but as I've grown older, moved around, now have kids, I just don't have the space. So I've had to really downsize my physical library quite a bit. And instead I've grown my digital book library. And we can talk about the whole argument about ownership and all of that, all those issues. But the fact is that it's a lot more convenient to be able to store hundreds of books in a little device, and I can read them anytime, and I won't lose them. And it's just a lot more convenient. And yeah, it's maybe not as satisfying as turning the page or putting a bookmark, but it's close enough, and I've gotten used to. And so I love that when it comes to writing. Yeah, it's not the same as turning a page in a journal, flipping through it and finding that, but I think it's close enough. And for convenience and just for practicality of writing, I feel like this is the way to go. All right, so just to close, I want to say that the Manta is a great device. It's as good as they market it and they say it is, which is really nice. For those who write, I think that it's worth it. For everything else, I'm not so sure. But for those who are gonna just write, I think that it's worth it. I do want to thank Ratta for trusting me to speak openly about this device. They sent it to me a year ago, and they're really gracious with the conditions of that. We just send it to you, and you just make videos, and you tell people your honest opinion on it. And I appreciate a company that's willing to do that. I will say that this device, as well as the A6X, they've changed the way that I write. They changed my life for the better when it comes to writing. And so for those who are thinking about whether to get a Manta or not, I know it's a hard decision because you can't try it. That's the hard thing. That's why I want to make these videos, because I know you can't go to the store and physically try it out. You can't, try the UI. You can only just see what's on YouTube. And there's a lot of great resources that run you through the menus and all those things. But it's especially hard to trust people on what they say. It's really hard to kind of understand, and you really got to be the one to use the pen to write to see if you're going to use it. And even if you do, you might not like it. And so I understand it's a very difficult decision. I hope that the videos that I've made on this channel have been helpful to some extent for those that are trying to decide whether or not to buy it. I've been back and forth on my opinion on the Manta in particular. For the Manta, it's grown on me. And for the Manta, because I have opportunities to write longer sessions where I actually can sit down and write at a desk, this one has been more useful. But in those moments when I just got to go quick meeting or something, I got to go somewhere, I'm taking the A6X with me just to write things down. So I hope that you enjoy these videos. This is just for fun. For me, I got other YouTube stuff that I'm busy doing, but yeah, this product is great. This company is great. And that's the reason why I want to make this channel and to make these videos. I know it's not tech heavy, but it's just, I don't know, I just want to try and make something different that might be a little more helpful for people who are really trying to decide. This pen, the Lamy pen, by the way, I still stand by it's the best. Looks horrible, actually horrible, but it does not look attractive. So aesthetically, it's not great still, but usability wise, it's so light and it feels like a real pen. Yeah, it just feels like a real pen, and that's what I like versus the other pens that I do have. But anyway, I mentioned that before. But yeah, thank you for those who watch the videos on this channel. I hope that they're helpful, and good luck with your decision on whether you're gonna buy one of these. Ratta, I hope that I don't know what you guys are working on, but the Fugu handheld, that's what I asked. That'd be nice. But anyway, thanks for watching.